All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Rakha Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And also honor salutations to those of you who are of the hopeful elect and are out there teaching the word of sincerity and truth. All right, so today I wanted to talk about something that I've been thinking about for the last month or so. And it just so happens that there were some events that have transpired over the last day or so that has I guess in so many words validated the thought, right? And that thought is to remember to tap back into the apostleship. And what I mean by that is we learn this truth from certain men, right? And we were taught it in a way where we can go out and spread our wings, right? The apostles have taught us how to be men, right? So we go out there and through their teaching, through the Spirit of the Lord, of course, we're able to understand certain things of the scriptures. We've been in street debates with Christians, and we've been able to, hold our own through those things. Living life, right? Having children, getting jobs, you know, how to treat people. All those things come from the apostleship that was given to us by the Heavenly Father, right? And I like to think about it like those rechargeable batteries, right? You get your these they got all kinds of sizes. I was going to name a size of the battery, but they got all different kinds. And you charge your battery, right? And then you put it in whatever device you're going to use, and then you use that device, right? Let's say when you're a kid, you had a remote control car, right? And you get that battery charged, right? You use your remote control car, you can go out, have a good time, doing little spin outs with your little remote control car. But eventually that battery wears down and it has to be recharged again. And I think a lot of times we forget about that. Right? And the scriptures speak. The scriptures speak about about that in many different ways, tapping back into the people that taught you and refreshing yourself. If you believe that the apostles were set up by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, then you have to also remember to tap back into that apostleship so that you can recharge that battery. So I wanted to, go into a couple of scriptures in regards to that. And hopefully it's edifying, and hopefully we can continue to grow, and we can continue to improve as men, but especially men of the Lord. All right, so I wanted to go into the word apostle. What I did was I typed in the word apostle, and I just clicked on the first scripture that came up, just so I can get the definition from the blue letter of what apostle is, right? So it comes from the Greek word apostolos, right? Let's play it. Hopefully it's not too loud. So like if it is.
Strong's G 652. Apostolos. Apostolos.
Okay, apostolos. Right. So here's some of the uses in the scriptures. Apostle, messenger, he that is sent. Okay. We read the definition here. It says a delegate, messenger, one sent forth with orders. Okay, specifically applied to the 12 apostles of Hamashiach. In a broader sense, applied to other eminent Christian teachers, right, like Barnabas, Timothy, and Sylvanus, right? Listen, I look down here, and as you can see, I have it highlighted because I think I have it pulled up. Yeah, I do. So I'm gonna read this too. It says from G649, a delegate, especially an ambassador of the gospel, officially a commissioner of Hamashiach, right? With miraculous powers, apostle, messenger, he that is sent, right? So we know that apostle means to be sent away, to be sent out, right? And our apostles were sent out with a message from the Lord, man. And what that message is a couple different things, right? They showed us how to prophesy, right? They showed us how to look up words. They showed us how to get into the Hebrew. They showed us how to get into the Greek and Latin, right? But ultimately, you know, teaching us how to be acceptable men in the eyes of Hamashiach, right? And we have to remember that when you are just to give you a little perspective, right? I was born in 1985, right? So I'm 37 years old today. And if you listen to the stories of the apostles that they tell, uh, the apostle Tahar in particular came into the truth the year I was born. So he's been dealing with things of the spirit for as long as I've been alive. Okay, so it would be audacious of me to think that I can figure it out without a man like that, right? Now again, I was afforded the opportunity, myself and Elder Adama, where we learned directly from the apostles. And what I mean by that is we spent like real time with them and over the years. Um, and that's a place where not many have been, right? And this is why it's important, right, to stay attached to the videos that the apostles put out, right? Because those lessons are still the same when you listen to those videos, and that's how you tap back into that charger, if you will, being recharged by watching the videos. If you have notes, I just dug out all of the notes that I've taken over the years, and just it brought me back to that feeling of when I was a young man in the truth and learning all these scriptures, and it refreshed me, it recharged me, you know. So you have to remember that, right? That these men were set up by Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and they have the dispensation of the gospel, and they've given it to us, right? So I want to go into this word delegate here. Um, a person sent or authorized to represent others, in particular, an elected representative sent to a conference, right? So you can think of the conference as the church or the body, or for us, it's GMS, right? That's the conference, right? And the representative is the apostles, and they're coming in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You know, nothing that they've taught us comes from anything else but Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and they proclaim that they never take the credit for themselves. They always give the credit to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? So continuing on, so that's the word apostle, right? And the apostleship, you can think of it as I spoke of in the beginning, the analogy in the beginning. You can think about it as, a battery charger, man. You go back and you tap back into who you learned from, right? Because at the end of the day, right? We're a part of a church. We're a part of an organization, and we all have to say the same things. We all have to be in the same mind frame. We all have to be in the same spirit, in order for this thing to work, or it'll unravel, man. So so while it is the responsibility of the apostles to teach us, it is our responsibility to go back and tap into what we were taught. You know. So let me go here. I can't remember. Okay, yep. This whole chapter is good. Let me see how far up I want to go. Oh, yeah, I'll go right to it. So this is Romans 10 and 14. Like I said, this whole chapter is good, but I'm just gonna start here. It says, How then shall they call on him whom they have not believed, right? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard, right? So before we got into the truth, before we came across the apostles on YouTube, we was doing, we was just running around aimlessly, man. I myself, I was, granted, I was, my basketball playing days, I guess, organized was over, but I was still, on a regular basis, I was hooping every day. And I was just talking to the elder Adam about this last night. Um, when I got into the truth and I started carrying my Bible around, all my boys was like, man, what's wrong with you, man? You tripping? Because I had stopped hooping completely. I was still young. I was 20, 21 years old. So I was, though I wasn't in college anymore. I wasn't in high school playing ball no more. But I was still, again, on a regular basis playing. So I had no idea who the Lord Yahweh Shai was, who the Most High Yahweh was. Um, and even my thoughts in the scriptures were tainted because I grew up. My dad was in the Nation of Islam, so anything that had to do with the Bible, um, I spoke poorly about it. I wouldn't say an advocate. That's the word that came to my mind, but I'd had arguments with people about the scriptures and saying that these things are in you. You don't need the Bible, and I used to say all kind of weirdo shit. You know. So the point is, how could I pray to the Lord if the Lord wasn't taught to me by the apostles, right? And how dishonorable would that be as a man to uh, go against the men that showed me the way. That's when you think about it in that way, it's crazy. When you these are the men that have potentially saved your life by giving you the word, right? And you would dishonor that by not tapping back into that apostleship. That's crazy, right? So let me continue on. It says, and how shall they believe in him whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher, right? And who were our preachers? They were the apostles. When you turned on YouTube, right? You were in some kind of funk in your life and you were looking for the truth, and you came across the apostles and you were mesmerized, right? You were astounded, right, by what you were seeing from these men who were brave enough to go out on the highways and byways and speak against the powers that be by way of the scriptures. I know I couldn't believe. I've told this story before, but I was into this guy called Ya King, and I can't remember his name, but that was his channel name, Ya King. And I was so hungry, right? I look at it like this way, the drier a sponge is, the more water it can absorb, and that's why I was a dry sponge. And I watched that dude's channel for a couple days straight, and just watched everything. And then for like a week, 2 weeks, he wouldn't post anything. And so I'll be sitting there waiting for him to post, and I'll go back maybe a week later, and then he'll have like 3 videos. So I watch those 3, in a day, and then be back dry again. And one particular day, I was watching his videos, and the apostles showed up on that strip down on the right hand side of related videos, and I said, okay, I saw the title, the so-called white man can't do anything. I can't, something along those lines, can't do anything to receive mercy, or something along those lines. And it was Elder Manatazak. He was on the thumbnail. He was the one primarily speaking at the time. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch that one next. And just to be like, just to see that there were two different sources of someone teaching about Israel was amazing to me. Like, damn, so this is a thing. This is like something that I've been missing out on. This is something I didn't know. So I watched that video, man, and I was hooked. I was hooked. And I've told Elder Benatas like this. He may not remember, but I've told him this. He was the first person I heard speak, and I was enamored, man. I was enamored, and you know, those were our preachers, man. Those were our preachers. Those were the men that woke us up. You know, like that. We were in a slumber, and that alarm clock. You hear that alarm clock going off, and it wakes you up out of your sleep. Our apostles were that alarm clock, man, to wake us up. To shake us up out of that deep sleep. Matter of fact, since I said that, let me just go here really quickly. I wanna read something. I think it's yep, Ezekiel 37. This is Ezekiel 37 and 1, right? It says, "The hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, there were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord power, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, Prophesy upon these bones, okay, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord," right? And this is what the apostles did. We were those dry bones, man. Playing basketball, singing songs, and tapping notes on the keyboard, and hugging on your woman. We were those dry bones, and the apostles prophesied unto us. And look what happened. It says, Thus saith the Lord power unto these bones, Behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and ye shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put breath in you, and ye shall live, and ye shall know that I am the Lord, right? So our apostles were the ones that did those things, man. They were the ones that prophesied unto us and put breath into us, by the Spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, put sinews on us by the Spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, right? Flesh upon us by the Spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, right? So you have to respect that, man, and you have to honor that. When you was a baby, those apostles were getting busy. All right. So let me keep going. Let me keep going here. I can't remember where I was. Okay. Yep. Verse 15, it says, "And how shall they preach except they be sent?" Right? As it is written, "How beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things." Right? And those are our apostles, man. You know, those are our apostles who did those things. They sacrificed, right? And for many years, even with no evidence of this thing blossoming the way it did in '07, they were still out there before the fame, right? Before the YouTube thing, before the hate. They were out there on the highways and byways teaching His word, man, growing and learning, right? So we have to remember that, and we have to tap back into that. When you feel yourself, waning, you have to tap back into that source. Um, Continuing on. Yep, this is 1 Corinthians 1 and 10. It says, Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. How can you do that except you tap back into the source, man? What taught you, you know? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, man. You know? And and again, if you don't feel like that's right, if you don't feel like you need to tap back into the apostleship, then this is not the place for you. GMS is not the place for you. You can move on, and you can do other things. You know, you can do your own thing and walk to the beat of your own drum, right? Okay, so this is let me see if I want to keep reading. No, so that's it, right? Oh wait. Hmm. Yeah, I won't read that. So this is let me continue on some of these other scriptures I have here. Uh-huh. Yep. This is 2 Timothy 3:13. It says, "But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived." Right? But here was the message to us. "But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them." Right? So I looked up this word assured. It didn't give me much in the blue letter. So I looked it up here in Google. It says confident, right? Protected against discontinuance or change, right? Right? Because that's what happens, man. When you when you don't continue to tap back in, right? There's a discontinuance of the spirit, man. You know, but being assured, right? Going back to the things that you learned, right? You get protected against that, man. That's true. That's true. That's very true, man. That's very true. You know, and we got to remember that you don't have to call the apostles. You don't have to go visit them necessarily. They have plenty of videos up, and sometimes just hearing their voices is enough, man. I know for me it is. I mean I may sound like brown nosing, but so be it. you know at least for me, I can say that when I hear their voices, I say, yeah, this was it. This was what I needed to hear. And sometimes you'll be in a funk and you don't understand why. I'm like, damn, why the fuck am I feeling like this? And then you hear the apostle's voice and you get right back into it. Now sometimes that funk can last for a little while. Sometimes it could be short, but it's all dependent on you tapping back into that charger, man. You plugging back in. um So that's all I have written down. Let me see something. I was thinking of the scripture while I was sitting here talking. Just want to read this. See if I want to get into this one right here, and this will be the last one. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I should have made this point a little sooner. Um. But I want to read this. I want to read this. I think it's good. Um. Come from here. This is Galatians. I want to read this. Um. I used to read this Galatians 1 and 6. Um, as I would read it to express how Christians use the scriptures, but they're not teaching the truth of the scriptures. And I would use this. This would be one of the scriptures, I should say, that we would use to make that point, right? I was reading this a little while ago, and I want to speak to this. Let me read this. This is Galatians 1:6. It says, "I marvel that ye are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Hamashiach unto another gospel," right? "Which is not another, but there be some that trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Hamashiach. But though we, or an angel from heaven, preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed," right? Because you have some people who don't like the idea that the apostles would say, if you're not of GMS, you're going off, right? But this Paul's saying the same thing here. He said, look, if somebody else is teaching you a gospel than what we taught you, let them be accursed. Right? As we said before, so say I now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you than that ye have received, let him be accursed. Right? And how can you protect yourself from that? Right? Receiving another gospel that you weren't taught, by tapping back into the men that did teach you. All right? And when you go into I meant to say this too. When you go into because I was watching Elder Apostle Gabar's video yesterday, where he's talked about getting back to the basics. He read 1 Corinthians 9:27. I keep it under my body, but I read that whole chapter when I got home, and then again this morning. Um, Paul was being questioned, right? Matter of fact, let's go to that. Let's go to that. 1 Corinthians 9. This is 1 Corinthians 9:1, and if you can't understand it, I also read this in the NIV. It was gave me some more context, but read it here first like this in KJV, and then if you can't understand it, sometimes Paul you need a little help with the way Paul, or let me say it this way, the way it's interpreted in English. But let me read this. I want to make this point. This is 1 Corinthians 9:1. It says, "Am I not an apostle? Am I not free? Have I not seen Yahushua HaMashiach our Lord? Are not ye my work in the Lord? If I be not an apostle unto others, yet doubtless I am to you, for the seal of mine apostleship are ye in the Lord," right? "Mine answer to them that do examine me is this: Have we not power to eat and drink? Have we not power to lead about a sister, a wife, as well as other apostles, and as the brethren of the Lord and Cephas? Or I only and Barnabas, have not we power to forbear working? Who goeth a warfare any time at his own charges? Who planteth a vineyard and eateth not of the fruit thereof? Or who feedeth a flock and eateth not of the milk of the flock?" Right? So the point is this. So he's going into what Paul is talking about here is, look, I'm an apostle, man. And even if I'm not an apostle to everybody, I'm definitely apostle to you, because you are my fruit. You know the truth because I gave it to you, right? And what was in question here was him asking for funds, right? And or some tangible return for the spiritual things that he had dispensated, that he had given out, and people were questioning it, right? He said, "Here's mine answer to them that examine me," right? So he was being questioned, just like our apostles get questioned about their authority, right? So it's not a new thing, man. It's not a new thing. So it would behoove us all, right? You wanting to be a part of GMS, to tap back in to that apostleship, to plug in to that charger, to fill that battery with energy again from the proper source, right? So hopefully that was edifying. I was a little long-winded. I didn't realize I was going for about 30 minutes. But hopefully that was edifying. As always, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Honor and salutations to the hopeful elect. And with that, I say shalom.